Hey guys, we are popping in to let you know that we are continuing the conversation from our previous episode where we were talking about breach and repair. In today's episode, we are going to jump right into the repair process. So let's get into it. Welcome to The Love Affair, a relationship podcast. Listen in as we discuss all things love and relationships starting now. Last year I had the opportunity to listen to a world champion debater. His name is Pt.2. I listened to his interview with Adam Grant, and he was sharing tips on being the world's greatest debater. He holds several titles, and then he wrote a book around it. And basically, he was talking about how to argue better and how he uses skills he learned from speech and debate in his real life exchanges with people.
Okay.
And so one of the things he mentioned was that, because we're still talking about keeping the main thing. If you've ever been part of speech and debate, or you ever watched a debate, or, presidential, whatever, there are rules and guidelines that they have to follow.
Yeah.
Right. And so in the spirit of that, he mentioned that, setting ground rules. Sorry, you made me laugh till a tear, so now my eyeliner is making my eyes itch.
My job is done.
Yeah. Setting ground rules when you're starting. Like, everybody needs to be on the same page.
Right.
And so he's saying that every disagreement must start with an agreement. And that agreement should be around the ground rules of how this exchange is going to take place. So some of the ground rules that we have shared, we gleaned from him, but also some of the ground rules could include what the topic is, ground rules around time. How much time are we going to devote to this exchange? And I do believe in setting a time limit.
I do too.
I think too much time on a topic, again, lends itself to be a bit much.
You start to lose focus.
You lose focus, yeah.
You get tired, get weary. You know what I mean? You're like, I just want this to end. So sure, whatever you say, just so it can be over.
You know
what I mean? So
yeah, I think time is a good thing too. And also, under the sake of time, I would say the courtesy of the other party's time as well. For example, even asking, is this a good time to talk about this now?
Yeah.
And allowing the other person to share, yes, it is, or no, could you give me 5? Could you give me 10?
That's the key. You got to, if it's not a good time, you got to give a clear, when can you do it? Can't just keep saying no.
Yeah.
Just an indefinite amount of time, you know what I mean? So it has to be followed up, not now, maybe at 6:00 or maybe this weekend. I need a lot of time. Whatever the time frame is, but just set it and stick to it.
Yeah, and even if, in addition to that, around time, when you think about something we tried to do in our earlier years, was we tried to have a day dedicated to when we would discuss anything related to our marriage. So we were trying to have a designated family meeting time, and we called it Marriage Monday, where we would, whatever needs to be addressed, let's address it at that time. And we were not as skillful, and we were not as diligent. And I think we both were like, I don't want to meet up for Marriage Mondays no more. This stuff it ruins my week. It
can,
because we didn't know how to do it the best way.
Right.
We were winging it. But look at us now.
Look at us.
We learned. We still learn. So that could be something else, is setting a time to have conversations, and that way both parties can show up in the right frame of mind to give and receive, right? So other ground rules around how the communication is going to go, is this an opportunity for, are we going to take turns? Is one person just going to share their stuff, and then the other party should, just listen, or do they say, well, okay, I have an issue A, you got an issue B, you want to address A or B first? Figure it out, but, taking turns, or just we're only focusing on this at this time and whatever. But it's about the partnership and the collaboration around it.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, the most important thing. Also, civility and courtesy, things we learned at a young age that sometimes get lost in our romantic relationships. I notice that sometimes when we become so comfortable around each other that basic courtesies can sometimes go out the way. So we still try to say please and thank you. And we still ask, can I have this? Is this okay? Da da da. We still try and maintain that. We do. We do. Do we not?
Sometimes,
most of the time. Tried and
I just think about some of the stuff, eating my chicken wing or something.
Oh, well, that's...
I come get my food. I got a half-eaten chicken flat.
But I ask you, can I taste... Sometimes. Sometimes you will open it and you'll see a bite missing from your sandwich. And it's like, she done got in here. Okay. And again, because sometimes courtesies go out the window because we're comfortable.
Yeah.
And so we might interrupt or overtalk the other person, or try to finish their sentence because they want to hurry up and get them to the end. Yeah, you mean this and the other. No, I don't.
But 95% of the time, I'm right, though.
I'm going to lower that and say
90?
I'm going to lower it and say that there is a 30% chance that you are right.
I'll call BS on that one.
It's my stat. I'm sticking to
it. That's not honest, and that's not honest.
Sometimes
that's not honest. Okay, Center. We'll talk about this later.
I decline the invite. I don't want to. And then boundaries, right? Yeah. But going back to civility and being courteous. Again, if you want to call people in, you want people to leave. You want people to keep their dignity, and you want to leave them with their dignity. And so, just those pleasantries, it really does make a difference.
And in order to get there, sometimes you got to take time because, like you said, being aware of your state of mind. If you're too heated to have a conversation, or you feel like you're gonna, it's not gonna be effective in a way, like you're gonna be maybe disrespectful or a little hostile tones and all that stuff, just don't do it at that time. But make sure, you set a time to where, you will follow up or initiate or whatever you want to, however you want to call it. So
and I will say even too, I can tell. I'm gonna go into our next point: boundaries. When we're setting the foundation, right? We're talking about time. We're talking about civility and courtesies and whatnot. But also boundaries is a huge one too, because when it gets to the point where I am recognizing that I am shifting my position from calling you in to now calling you out, and I can sense my tone has changed. My language and everything is a little more pointed. It's sharp and it stings, because I'm intending it to.
I start getting sharp.
And so I can recognize, because again, I am aware of the state of my mind at this time, and I will start to say to you, I can feel myself becoming impatient, and I think I need to end this call, or I can feel myself getting defensive here, and that's not helpful because I want to hear what you have to say, but right now I need to walk away. So things like that, knowing what the boundaries are, like, hey, it ain't gonna be no name calling. Don't talk about my mama and them. If we talking about the garage, don't tell me I spend too much time or money at the thrift stores, because that's a different conversation.
But it is relevant.
That I will decline.
You can decline, but it's still relevant. It may not be. It may not be like if part of the agreement that we said we're only going to talk about this, but it's relevant.
It might be in the neighborhood of relevancy, but it's not what we agreed to talk about at this time.
Oh, it's all relevant because anyway,
Yeah.
carry
And
on.
if you approach like, hey, Robin, I would like to call you into a conversation and discuss your frequency at the thrift store. And I can say, no, thank you.
That ain't gonna work because you
You can say, is this a good time? No, it isn't.
okay.
When will be a good time?
When would it be a good time? Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that.
Oh, really?
And I'll just keep dodging the appointments. Like little Tom and Jerry Mouse.
Yeah.
You have to catch me by my tail and say,
Yeah.
listen here.
Try to run away and I got your tail. Well, no, we're gonna talk about this now. I've been going through the bank statement and I'm noticing some things.
Listen, you.
All right.
So yes, we yes, and so basically boundaries, and then saying, hey, if we can't have a civilized conversation, or if this is now getting derailed, let's end it. Then we'll end it and we'll come back in X time.
Yeah.
Because some things about us too, we don't want it to linger too long. There are sometimes when we are trying our best to resolve it in that session, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, let's just park it here and let's finish this conversation tomorrow or in an hour, whichever one we need.
Yeah.
That's fair too. So set those boundaries because again, we want to make sure we leave the relationship better better off than how it began. But if we keep pushing and persisting through it, it may not. They would teach things like don't go to bed angry. But if you staying up all night, again, you spending a lot of time arguing points, you done went way off topic. And it shouldn't last all night now.
Right.
Especially if you keeping the main thing. Stop all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The other thing is in repair. Debating isn't the only thing to do during an argument. There is work. There are, what's it called? There are objectives, purposes and objectives, right?
In an argument?
In an argument. Well, yeah.
Repair.
During the repair phase, it's not just to sit there in that moment that you guys designated or that we designated to just debate.
Right.
Did it happen? Did it not happen? Did it happen the way I said it? Did it happen the way you said it? We're both now just debating our points.
Yeah.
That's not the end goal. That's a hamster wheel.
Circular conversation.
Yeah. You want off the crazy train.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I don't know if I was listening to Bo CO when he was talking about this in debate or maybe some other thing I was listening to. They said that whenever you're debating with someone and you're trying to get them to budge from their position, if you keep just telling them that they're wrong for thinking that way or feeling that way, and all you're doing is saying you're wrong, it's only going to cause the other party to dig their heels in deeper.
Because we talked about this too, because I think sometimes understanding somebody is not agreeing with it. It's just, okay, I understand how you got there. Doesn't mean you're condoning the behavior or, you agree with it. It's just saying, okay, I hear you. I understand how you got there. And that leaves the other party with their dignity and they feel like you listening to them and you taking it in. You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know, it's more agreeable to do it that way. But yeah, saying you understand is not admitting or saying that you agree or condone.
Right.
Let's get that. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is, when you are in those hamster wheels of, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. And all you're doing is just debating whether you did or didn't. And that's foolishness.
Right.
The purpose is not to just debate and get the parties to dig their heels in deeper. It's really about, okay, how do we both now take one step forward? And that's what you just described as, I would use the word validating. Validating that the other party had an experience and they're sharing it with you.
Yeah.
Another way that I validate is by saying thank you. Thank you for bringing that up to me and making me aware. Even if it's just that, because even if I don't even understand,
Yeah.
let alone agree, but the fact that you feel safe and comfortable, and our marriage has this vibe and culture to it where we both can bring things up. Sometimes just saying thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
That is helpful to know.
I don't know what language I use, but I don't use thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I might say, like, okay, I wasn't aware or something like that, but I ain't.
Okay, I get it.
I'm not. Yeah, I get it.
You might say that. Yeah, okay, I get
I
it.
ain't thankful.
Well, sometimes, depending on what's being brought to your attention. But I'm saying in those ways, when they're talking about debating, the guy Bo CO said, even in debate, there is a round when you now have to change your position
Yeah.
to some degree. Like, say you've been arguing for something, but your party has been arguing against it. So you hear their argument, and now there's a partner round where you have to kind of change your position on something. And you started off by acknowledging all of the points that your partner made that were valid.
Yeah.
So, hey there, are you enjoying the conversation as much as we are? Then let us know. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're here every other Thursday with a brand new episode, and you do not want to miss it. Okay, all right, back to the conversation. I thought that was so interesting because while they're debating and pointing out and trying to build their argument, they're also actively listening to what the other party says, because in a later round, they're going to have to use that information, And as a debater, I'm like, you are using both sides of the brain. You are that's a lot of information to retain. I mean, it's so. I went to judge a debate thing, and it is amazing. I think those tournaments are so fun. But anyway, that's an aside.
Okay.
But you listen and you learn, and it's just helpful. So even in day-to-day exchanges, if all you're doing is just sitting there to debate your position, you're going to lose.
Right.
You have to actively listen to the other party and then validate. You had a point. When you brought that up, I saw how you got there. Yeah, that makes sense, seeing it from your side.
So a person will be doing all that, digging their heels in an effort to win, but you end up losing.
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
You end up losing.
You end up losing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And sometimes sometimes just taking the air out, just like releasing a little bit of the pressure and the tension just by saying,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're right about that. And just sit with it for a second. Like, okay,
that hurts.
Okay.
I can feel it. I can feel it right now. That hurts.
Because when that ego is involved, it's kind of like win to the death of it. But sometimes it's agreeing that something did occur, and it may not have occurred the way I thought. You're explaining to me how you experienced it, and I could say, I understand that now.
Yeah. I'm feeling it, Robin, right now.
Are
just
you?
Oh yeah, because it's like, whew.
Oh man.
That is humbling.
We talked about being a champion fighter. It doesn't happen by happenstance. It takes time and practice, emotional maturity, intellectual development. It is not for the weak.
Right.
You have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, validating, and listening to have a better understanding of the other party, and then also building a better relationship, because whatever is being expressed, whether you're on the giving end or the receiving end, it is an opportunity to make the relationship better for both parties. It really is.
Yeah.
I want you, when you come home from wherever, when you pull into the garage, I want you to be delighted to come home. I don't want you to be riding down the street like, oh, I'm so ready to get home. Then you open up the garage and you see my paint station there, and then you immediately go into frustration. Like, what the heck is all this stuff over here? So I want to make sure that your experience, when you come into the home, our home, that home feels good and relaxing and comfortable.
It'd be real petty.
Wait, I'm talking high road here. Why did you go there?
Just pull it in, just run over stuff. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
No,
but I'm
you
just saying
wouldn't.
that'd be funny. Not funny for you and
I
me.
was gonna
but I'm
say
just saying,
to who?
That's like something you see on a movie or something like that. It'd just be kind of funny.
But
Just
see,
run it over.
you know what? Contempt. When people get to the point of contempt, they or even defensiveness, they might do that and say, "Well, I told you to move it."
Yep.
You know, you must not have cared too much.
You ain't
Something like that.
listening to me.
Yeah.
That's
Ooh,
an imagination. Anyway,
petty.
Yeah.
And so we were saying things like, you can ask during the debate, in an effort to better understand the other party and to build a better relationship. You got to learn to ask better questions and give better answers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you have any questions or things you might want to add to that during that process?
During the process, I think for me, the point where asking questions.
Or your thoughts around asking better questions or giving better responses? Anything?
Well, definitely asking questions to get an understanding of how something made you feel or something like that. Like getting asking questions just to get an understanding, a better understanding of if I did something to you, how that made you feel. You know what I mean? That way, I don't know. That's not what I want to say.
Well, can I jump in while you thinking through it? So let's go back to your example about the garage, right? And you were able to give me a one sentence or under 60 seconds how the stuff in the garage on your side is a problem. It's an issue. Yes, an issue, and here's how to solve it. A question that could have come after that, you could have asked me. You said, "Were you aware that your stuff is moving over to my side?" You know, because sometimes I might just be finding stuff, and then I might pull it out. I mean, bring it home and just park it somewhere just to get it out. But then I don't go back to my pile, right? And then I start putting other stuff on top of it. And so you're like, are you aware of how much stuff is over here?
Yeah. That's that right there. For whatever reason, for me, that's a challenge when it's turned around on me. Like, if you ask me, am I aware that I'm doing something? I don't know. Something inside of me just happens. Like, it feels like a challenge. It feels like I'm getting ready to bow up, and we're about to toe down now. I don't know. It's not the best way. It's not the most effective way, but that's how I feel at the moment, because it's like, I don't know. Oh man, it's crazy because I don't know.
Because I'm trying.
It's like it feels like I'm being called out, but I'm actually not being called out. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
The thing is, listen, depending on what it is and how it's delivered, right? Because we feel the energy if it's a call out like, do you even notice how messy you are in this garage?
Yeah.
That's a different thing than, are you aware of how much stuff we've accumulated in the garage and that is spilling over?
Yeah.
That sounds different. It's the same question, but it's different.
Right now, it sounds great. Right now. But I'm just saying, like, when it turns on me like that, it's just... I feel the adrenaline. It's like, it's about to go down. You know what I mean?
And probably my energy.
Maybe, man.
I'm going to admit, there might be some of me lacing that question.
So it's your fault?
No.
Oh,
no. Okay. No.
You sure? You sure about that? No,
sometimes I have to be mindful. Remember we talked about Johari's window?
Yeah.
For me, sometimes in an effort to clarify and explain or whatever, my tone shifts into it's a tone that I have. I was not aware that I sounded this way until I heard it back. during one of my class things. And
Yeah.
and I'm y'all, it's serious for real. And so sometimes, even though I'm thinking carefully about what I'm saying and I'm trying to get all my P's and Q's out, when I hear it back, it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
are you upset? Or, it sounds very authoritarian. It sounds sharp.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, I wasn't even trying to get it out like that. I was actually trying to be so careful, but my tone did not do that.
Yeah.
For example, I'm gonna do this quickly. I told you this when I became more aware. In either undergrad or grad school, I'm not sure which one, but we were doing group projects and so on. We started to record our meetings. I'm not even kidding. I was like, that's me?
Yeah.
We started to record our meetings, and the person was talking, and for me, I was saying, like egging on the conversation, like to let them know, yes, I hear you. Great idea. That's what was happening in my head.
Yeah.
But none of that was coming through. What I was doing was,
Yeah.
and just like that, And again, in my head, I thought it was coming off like, yeah, great idea. I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? I heard that thing back, and it sounded like I was doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was shocked because
I wasn't. No, just playing.
I was not aware that they were hearing that from me.
Yeah.
And they were probably like, what is her problem? Everything we suggest,
she got an attitude.
she got an attitude. She's like,
Yeah.
And I was like, I was
Have your
so
little
unaware.
cocktail.
Very much. Eric Mays at the time. But anyway, sometimes we just don't know how we are showing up and coming off. But again, if our intentions are clear, and you could say, are you aware of your face? Because you would tell me that sometimes to my face, like, and I'm like, I'm processing, I'm listening to you. You're like, well, your face is all screwed up. I did not know. So I tried to be a little more mindful of how I look when I'm delivering the information and how I sound. And if it's matching. So
that's awesome.
Hey there, are you enjoying the conversation as much as we are? Then let us know. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're here every other Thursday with a brand new episode, and you do not want to miss it. Okay, all right, back to the conversation. So some of the questions, right? I know you were thinking through it, and I was thinking that some questions we had an issue sometime last year, and we had a meeting. And before we had the meeting, I wrote down several questions that I knew I wanted answers to, and I'm just going to share some of them here because it was helping me to stay on point. And I even said the purpose of this meeting is I just want to understand your side a little better. Right? And so I knew if that's my intention going in, I want to understand you better, then I need to ask better questions in order to get better answers. And I didn't want my questions to come off, no, what the heck is wrong with you? Why are you like that? That's not the right question that's going to get the right answer, right? So my questions were, I took time and I framed my questions. So I asked, I said, what was your perception of everything prior to the fallout? Because again, somebody might be thinking everything's all hunky-dory and the other person is like, the sky is falling. Right? What do you feel is the real issue underneath all this? How did your actions contribute? Now that question sounds like a performance evaluation, doesn't it? But I knew what I was trying to ask. At the time, I asked it that way. How did your actions contribute to the fallout? Boy, that sounds...
You love asking questions.
Asking Michelle.
Ask Michelle.
What would you have done differently? And here's the best question. What do you need today in order to move forward? And giving an honest answer to that, and even if the answer is, let me think about it and get back to you.
Because you may not know.
That's the honest and fair
in that
question.
moment, you may not know. Right.
Yeah.
You may not know.
So as we're wrapping this up, how do you know that you have had a good argument? How do you know when an argument has gone well? Like, okay.
On a personal level, it's like you understand my position, and maybe you don't. It's not. You just understand my position. You may not agree with it, but at least you understand where I was coming from. You know what I mean? I think that's number one. I'm sure there's others, but yeah, if you just understand why I did something, why I did it the way I did, or why I said it, or why I reacted that way, not condoning it, but if you understand, okay, that takes the, would you say, air out of the balloon a little bit? For me, that takes the air out of the balloon.
Yeah, releases the pressure. And okay, so that's one way. Any other ideas?
Now, and getting under, and secondly, getting understanding of where you what's coming from, or understanding
Both parties.
both parts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's I guess the overall answer is we come to an understanding. You know what I mean? You understand where I came from. I understood where you come from.
I would add to that and both parties agree on what the next step is. Because if the next step requires amends or setting up some type of new guardrails to say, hey, to prevent this in the future, let's work on X, Y, Z, things of that nature. I think, but when both parties are in agreement and that, okay, all hearts and minds are clear, we have our action items. All right. Right?
Yeah. So also, I think for another one for me is not that it doesn't feel like it's one-sided, and maybe that is part of the understanding. But because sometimes in conflict, one person or another can feel ganged up on, and it just feel like, oh, you, for lack of a better phrase, you got everything you wanted. I didn't get anything. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true too. Because the thing about being a champ is that both parties can enter the ring as champs and leave the ring as champs, right? It's not a zero sum where somebody has to win it and someone has to lose. Because guess what? If both parties don't feel like they won, it's a loss anyway. You know?
And that conflict is going to carry on for a little while longer then.
It sure is. Some other stuff is going to happen. It's going to sprout out from that because resentment is real. So I would say also that this is what Bo CEO said, I believe. He said, a good argument is where both sides can walk away feeling like they do it again.
I guess I understand a little better now. Because I was thinking like, no, I don't want to argue ever again. But it's having a conflict with someone and both sides win, to put it that way. That you'll feel the next time something arises, a conflict will arise, you will feel comfortable enough to actually have the conversation and to say, hey, this is what you said, and how it made me feel and all that stuff. So you're able to be more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you're not half dead.
True. You live
because
to fight another day.
If you half dead, you ain't gonna want to jump back in the ring like,
nah,
he gonna tear me a new one every time. It's like, nah, I'm not here for that. I just keep it to myself then.
Yeah. And stonewall and figure out other ways to just exit the relationship as a result of not feeling heard and understood and validated, so forth and so on. I do echo all that. I use words like feeling safe, heard, and hopeful. So again, creating a space where it is safe, emotionally safe, and to be able to share what's in my heart, what's on my heart, and how I can fix it, and not feeling shame for bringing it up, not being ridiculed or dismissed, things like that, or even disrespected. Like, why you bring this up now? Why you talking about that? This is stupid. Why you tripping off something? Nope, don't do that. Don't do that. If you love the person, don't do it like that. Refrain, okay? Because they are having an experience with you, and something about your actions contributed to it.
Yeah.
So you're not off the hook, right? So you want your partner to feel safe enough to bring things up. You want them to feel heard, and by heard, you said understood, and it's understanding on both sides. And then hopeful, man, that is a huge one for me, right? Because I want to know that everything that we discussed here is for the improvement of our relationship. So
Right.
it brings us back into unity. It restores chemistry. Our relationship can now move forward. And I'm hopeful and I'm excited about how it's going to look and feel next.
Yeah.
Now that we're over this hump, right? So I don't want to walk away thinking that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
Or now I'm feeling worse than I did. I'm feeling like Chavez did in the ring, all bloodied and bruised. I got to go sit in the
And what?
hospital and half dead.
There you go.
You know,
Yeah.
because again, y'all remember this. This series was inspired by Creed 3, and Dame beat that dude's tail. I still can't get over it. Right? I thought he was dead. But it's horrifying. So we do that to people emotionally. We do that to them spiritually.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I just watched several documentaries on things, and the amount of emotional damage that we can do to other people is horrifying.
Yeah.
Sometimes the things we say and things we do has lasting, lifelong impacts on people in the most negative form. And I'm watching these documentaries and I'm listening to these survivors talk about their experiences. My heart extends to them. And so they're far from me. But to my honey right here, I can't even imagine that something I'm saying or doing will have that kind of effect on you, because I don't intend that.
Right.
I wouldn't want that. So again, creating that space, creating that relationship, that marriage where we can do it the way that, leaves us all with our dignity is the goal.
That's the goal.
That is really the goal.
Yeah.
So remember, when we started this series, I said, I'm going to tell everyone how to win every argument you have. And you said, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I said I was very skeptical.
You were skeptical, yes. And I said, I will give you the tip to win every argument you will ever have.
Go on.
Okay? And it goes back to this. The running theme that I think I've had in here is this: whatever you intend, you will have. If you are approaching the argument and you are intending to call someone out and push them away from you, and at the end of that exchange, you guys are farther apart than when you began, then you have won that argument, because you have gotten what you intended.
Yeah.
But if you intend to call people in, so you're opening yourself up and you're saying, I'm going to share something with you that will help me and you to relate to each other better. I'm calling you in. I'm giving you information and insight into what's going on in my head and my heart. And you share it in a way, you do all the work to make sure you're sharing it in a way where you're respectful and you're civilized and you're leaving them with their dignity. You're offering your solutions. And you can walk away from that exchange feeling like, I would do it again with this person. They heard me, they understood me, I feel hopeful after that. Then you have won that argument. But it comes down to what you intend.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the biggest secret of this whole thing. And we said this about the champion fighter last week. When you do all the work, I wish it was a fail-safe, but it's not. When you do all the work that you can do within your power, and you can look over your behavior while in the ring and outside of it, and you can be proud of how you showed up, that is a win. The pitfall is maybe your partner, maybe your lover, whoever it is on the receiving end, friend,
family member,
maybe they just weren't on the level. Then this is going to be a bittersweet win. The bittersweetness of it is you recognize that this person does not have the capacity, and you can release them. You can release yourself from them and just say, okay, I understand it it's not what I was hopeful for, but I now understand this is a new boundary I need to put in place, that we cannot move forward together. So now I'm releasing you, or I'm releasing myself from you, you know?
Yeah.
So the hope is that you get to release the issue, but sometimes you have to release the person. And in the long run, that's a win too. It's going to sting first, but it's a win.
It probably is, but for me, that never feels like a win. Still doesn't feel like a win of relationships or some relationships I had to let go. It feels like a win, you know what I mean? But others, it still don't feel like a win. It's just a lot of, I use a little bit of hyperbole. It's a lot of destruction. But I guess it is the relationship is over. You know what I mean? And I would really rather it not end it. You know what I mean? So I think it would always feel like a loss to me. But I understand what you're saying. If I did, or if you did everything you know to do and do it effectively, you know what I mean? I guess it's not on us, but it still feels like a loss. That's it. Yeah.
Disappointment is real. But overall, our hope and goal is that the relationship can persist.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
All right.
Absolutely.
So we are going to wrap up here. This was a good series to go through and talk through our journey of being better debaters, being in conflict better. We've learned to fight better and differently in our fights and arguments or disagreements, breaches, whatever. They don't last as long because we know how to get to the end of a thing. And I think there's a scripture that says something like the end of a thing is better than the beginning. You know that?
I've heard that before.
The end of a thing is better than the beginning. So we are hopeful that the end of this series, we are leaving you guys better than where we found you in the beginning, or where you found us, or where you found us.
What?
In the
Okay. All right now.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right.
All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening. Bye. That's all the time we have for today, but we're definitely continuing the conversation in the next episode. You don't want to miss it. Before you go, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, rate, follow, do all of those things that will let us know you enjoyed the conversation and that you support us. That would really encourage us to keep going. So until next time, thank you so much for listening and take care.